Calendar number 272, Senate Bill number 1158, an act designating various days, weeks, and months. There is an amendment.
Senator Flexer.
Good afternoon, Madam President. Madam President, I move for acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill.
And the question is on passage. Will you remark?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Madam President, the bill before us today is a bill that the Government Administration and Elections Committee is lucky to work on every year. It designates various days, weeks, and months, and with your indulgence, Madam President, I will detail each of those that are outlined in this bill. That May of each year will be Bone Health and Osteoporosis Month, that the first week of May of each year will be Tardive Dyskinesia Awareness Week, that May 10th of each year will be Ann Petrie Day to recognize this Connecticut author and her contribution to literature, that September 14th will be Free Enterprise Day, September 17th to be Constitution Day, October 9th of each year to be Pans and Pandas Awareness Day, and for the holiday period between November 20th and December 20th as Survivors of Homicide Victims Awareness Month. Madam President, in our committee, we had many members of the public contact us about these days. I also want to recognize two other days that are outlined in the bill. Today being of particular significance for one of them, May 16th of each year will be Trinity College Day to recognize Trinity College's contributions to the state on the anniversary of when the college received its charter. Madam President, it just so happens that today is the 200th anniversary of that charter for Trinity College, so very appropriate that we will hopefully pass this bill today, and perhaps it may even be taken up by the House of Representatives today in recognition of their 200th anniversary. And finally, Madam President, this bill recognizes July 11th of each year to be Bosnian Genocide Remembrance Day, to remember the more than 8,000 Bosniak citizens killed in Srebrenica during the Bosnian War. Madam President, in our committee this year, we heard incredibly compelling testimony from members of the Bosnian community who live here in Connecticut, detailing their own personal horrific stories of what they and their families endured during that war and during that genocide. We were very grateful in our committee that these folks came and took the time to revisit those very painful memories in an effort to make sure that what they and their families endured will never be forgotten. And by recognizing July 11th as this day of remembrance for the Bosnian genocide, we'll be doing just that. So I want to express my gratitude in particular to those folks for coming forward. It's not easy to tell the stories that they were sharing with us and the horrors they had to endure. But I'm grateful to them for their commitment to making sure it's never forgotten and making sure that we all learn from such atrocities. So with that, Madam President, I hope that my colleagues will support the bill before us today. I think you can see that this is a important product for many people who live in our great state. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Will you remark further? Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to just echo the comments made by the good chairwoman of the Government Administration and Elections Committee. This bill that is before us is just our annual an act designating various days, weeks, and months where we recognize important points throughout history and days we want to remember to recognize various groups or points in history or concerns that are ongoing, as a matter of fact. She has already gone through and listed each of the items, so I don't need to do that. However, I do want to echo some of the comments on the Bosnian Genocide Remembrance Day. It was one of the most emotional days that I've had in the legislature, listening to the testimony Much of it was quite heart-wrenching, and I'm very, very pleased that we are in a position to at least recognize what happened there and hope that that helps prevent any further atrocities in the future. I'm also very pleased to see Free Enterprise Day and Constitution Day, which are both proposals that I introduced this year, make it into this bill, and as well as the Pans and Pandas Awareness Day, which I know Senator John Kissel, my dear colleague, has been pushing for. All in all, I think there are a good selection of days, weeks, and months that we captured this time around, and I urge my colleagues to support this bill. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Will you remark further? Senator Anwar.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam President. Madam President, I rise to make a few comments about this bill. Madam President, I wanted to first thank Senator May Flexer for her leadership and her help with the part of the bill that is important to me. This is after conversation with many Bosnian American community members in the greater Hartford area. Madam President, back on July 11th, 1995, some 28 years ago, about 8,000 Bosnians were murdered. That was done based on their ethnicity and their faith. And if you look at the history from 1992 to 1995, there are over 100,000 people who were murdered. United Nations General Assembly recognized this as a genocide. U.S. Congress, International Criminal Tribunal has recognized this as a genocide. I wanted to thank a number of individuals who were able to bring some of these concerns, issues, and thoughts to me. One of my interns, Becker Hodzek, he's been working with me as an intern, and he talked about some of the experiences. He's obviously young. He was born after the genocide, but this remains alive in the hearts of all the individuals who live in our state. Just in the greater Hartford area, there are some 3,000 families. And just like Senator May Flexer talked about the conversations and the individuals who spoke, I had the opportunity to listen, and to listen, you cannot help but cry every time you listen to the stories, how people are still have had no closure because they have not known their family members to come back or have any information, and such trauma that has been part of individuals' lives, and so many stories are so critical. So this is something that will give comfort for the people who call Connecticut their home, to know that our state will become, hopefully when this passes, the first state in the entire United States to recognize the Bosnian genocide remembrance on 11th of July. And I'm hoping that we would be able to do this for this July, and perhaps have an event in our capital where the governor may be able to declare this, but also have the opportunity for people to share their pain, and also recognize that their collective pain is also pain for the state of Connecticut. So, Madam President, I wanted to thank Senator May Flexer and everyone else who's been helpful in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Flexer, I do believe you have an amendment.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I have an amendment, LCO number 7732. I would ask that the clerk please call the amendment and I be granted leave to summarize.
Mr. Clerk,
LCO number 7732, Senate Amendment A.
please do summarize.
Thank you, Madam President. I move adoption of the amendment, and the amendment before us just changes the effective date of the legislation before us so that it's effective from passage, so that all the various people and recognitions that we just detailed won't have to wait another half year for these to become a part of our law. So I would encourage my colleagues to support the amendment.
Will you remark further on the amendment? If not, let me try your minds. All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Will you remark further on the bill as amended? Senator Flexer.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Madam President, if there's no objection, I would move that we place this bill on our consent calendar.
Seeing and hearing none, we will add that item to the consent calendar. Mr. Clerk.